Boy, you sure are a glutton for punishment. Well, here you go. This is called The Day I Spent with Satan. Pretty scary. I would have to say my first real big lie and theft was to my mother when I was maybe 5 or 6 years old, and it was my first year at school. It started out as any other school day, except that I was to bring money along to pay for class photos. I think it was a lot of money. I seem to recall it was $1.65. My mom pinned a note containing the dollar bill to my shirt pocket for the teacher to see, just in case I forgot to turn in the money, and the coin she gave me went into my corduroy pants pocket. I set out for school alone, and for some reason I stopped for a little while on the corner of my block. I squatted down, and with one elbow resting on my knee, while my head rested on my fist, just let the other kids walk by as I pondered the mysteries of life, which of course didn't take me very long. After some time had passed, I just decided I didn't want to go to school, and I went over to my friend Timmy's house on the other end of the block. Timmy was too young to go to school yet, so I knew he'd be home. Well, we played for quite a while with his trucks, and then his dad came home for lunch, which came all too soon, and he suggested that I go home for lunch also. Well, I couldn't go home now, could I? I mean, give myself away. So I went towards 16th Street, stopping along the way by 17th Street to kind of look around the corner, make sure nobody would see me, especially that little witch Skippy down the block, because I know she'd squeal on me. Well, I stopped for a bit by the Mexican's house on the corner. They had chickens in their yard, and I tossed little pebbles towards the chickens and watched as they darted back and forth to pick them up and eat them. Dumb chickens. Wish I had one. Anyways, I went to 16th Street, which was a busy street, and I was forbidden to cross it. But I took my chances and looked both ways. Then I looked both ways again, and I crossed. I headed right over to the variety store to have a look around. I had money, and I planned on spending some of it. I looked through the many little compartments along the wall, divided by glass partitions, each holding different fun items like paddle balls, bags of marbles, rubber snakes, rubber cars, rubber motorcycles, rubber pocket knives. Hey, wait a minute. What could be more useful than a rubber pocket knife? So I picked up one of those. I would have preferred a real knife, but the old fart in the store wouldn't sell me one. I kept looking and came across a cool rubber band-powered airplane, and this was not your run-of-the-mill cheap balsa wood rubber band airplane, no siree. It was an expensive one with a heavy wire frame and wings made of plastic that was so thin you could see through it. Well, my total was 63 cents for the airplane and the rubber knife, so I added 2 cents worth of candy raisins. And you could get quite a few candy raisins for 2 cents back then. I couldn't wait to try out my new airplane, and I went between George Webb's restaurant and another building and sat down on the ground, Indian style. I popped a couple of candy raisins into my mouth and set the little brown paper bag down next to me. Then I proceeded to wind up the rubber band on the airplane. Boy, this thing had a good rubber band, and it was hard to wind. I started winding it up until it knotted up on itself, and I was about to stop when my finger slipped off the blade. Ouch! The plastic blade sliced my finger, causing it to bleed slightly. Don't worry, it was okay. Nothing serious. Anyways, this was a good plane. It had a lot of power. And I was not a total idiot. So I decided to only wind the plane up halfway, right there in the paved passageway, which was heavy with the smell of burgers and cooking oil hanging in the air. I set the plane on the ground, figuring it would likely just taxi down the walkway a bit and maybe take a short flight. So I carefully set it down and let go of the blade and the tail of the plane at the same time, and it made a beautiful taxi for several feet, and then it lifted higher and higher. It was so smooth, so beautiful. And then suddenly, no, it banks to the right and disappears on the George Webb's roof. I ran to the rear of the building as fast as I could, hoping to find a way to retrieve my new airplane, but there was no way for me to get up there. I was a midget. Oh, dang it. Well, with my head hung low, I shuffled back down the narrow passageway, picked up my bag of candy raisins, took one more look up towards the roof, and let out a sigh before heading on back to Timmy's house. Well, Timmy and I played with his trucks and ate candy raisins until I started to see kids coming home from school, which of course meant it was time for me to go home. I got in the house. "Hi, Mom, I'm home," I fairly sang. And she answered with, "Wally, did you give your teacher the money for the pictures?" Oh, no. I immediately clutched my chest pocket, and I thought to myself, "Wally, you idiot. Yeah, Mom, well, before I could even get my lying answer out, she pulls my hand down from my pocket. What's this? She says as she unpins the note and the dollar bill from my pocket. I didn't say a word. I had forgotten all about the note and the dollar bill. Had I remembered earlier about the dollar, I could have gotten another airplane, stashed the note, and been in the clear. What a dope. And Mom asked me where the rest of the money was while sticking her fingers into my pants pocket to find only the red rubber pocket knife with the yellow rubber blade and one pocket lint coated candy raisins. Why didn't you pay for the pictures? Didn't your teacher see the note? And where's the rest of the money? And where did this knife come from? She said in a stern voice. I tried in vain to explain how the teacher must not have seen the note and the money must have fallen out of my pocket. The knife? Hey, I don't know. I guess I found it. Well, she wasn't buying a word of it. She dropped the rubber knife down her brassiere. I wondered just how much stuff was in there. I mean, I've seen toys, candy, money, hankies, clothespins, all kinds of stuff go in there. It must have been kind of like the junk drawer by the kitchen sink in there. I mean, nobody but her knew what was in there. Walter, Jr., I'm very disappointed in you. Wait till your father gets home, she said. Oh, crap. I could always tell when my mom was really pissed at me because she would use my formal name, always ending with an extra accentuated Junior. My mom usually dealt out the punishments for minor infractions with a good yelling or spanking, so I knew I was in trouble. The scary part was I didn't know which of Dad's two punishment methods I would receive. I preferred a good spanking. There was a bit of pain, yeah, but it was usually over fairly quickly. The other method involved long, drawn-out discussions and speeches on how I wasn't an idiot, and so I shouldn't act like one. He would spend far too much time explaining how not to be a dummy. You know, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I know all that stuff already. It was a waste of time in my book. So anyway, there you have it. The cute, soft-spoken, sweet, innocent little boy that everyone thought they knew was in fact a liar, a thief, and a truant. And all in one day. Well, grease up the gates of hell, 'cause I'm coming through. Hey, maybe I'll see some of you there. Keep an eye out for a rubber band powered airplane, okay? Hey, thanks a lot. Have a nice day.